Hello, welcome to Cinema Savvy. We have arrived at that time of the year once again, slightly later for obvious global reasons. We are at the Oscar predictions, not quite at the Oscars just yet, but we're here for our predictions today. So, as everyone knows, the nominees went up today. Were they controversial? Were they as expected? Let us know as we go through. Because I think we're all in agreement here where we noticeably missed a lot of films on here. There's also a lot of films that we still need to see on this list. I think we have to say that every single year, probably more than ever this year. It seems like there's way more films that we need to get through, and we will get through within the next couple of months before the Oscars. But we are here with our predictions for the 93rd Academy Awards. This is something that we do every year. It's a little bit of fun we have on the channel. We're all very competitive people. And there's a lot of sort of dead air to fill on the night of the Oscars because it goes on for seemingly hours and hours. So it's a little game that we play. So we'll be going through the rules in just a second, but I have no idea how. Well, usually I'm last every single time. Predictions aren't great for me. I just throw names out there and we see how it goes. But we always have a first choice and a second choice, and there's points allocated to both of those. Just in general, in terms of the actual nominees, I don't know, it's up for debate whether it's a close year this year, if it's fairly open. But in terms of the leading nominees, Mank has 10, and then The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Nomadland, Sound of Metal, and Trial of the Chicago 7 all have 6 nominees apiece. So numerically it's equal, but I guess we'll discuss on this whether we think it's wide open or not. But before we go into it, just over to Tate with the socials.
Yes, sure. So please make sure to comment below on your thoughts on the Oscar nominations. We love to hear your thoughts, especially on topics like this. Don't forget to like, comment along, share, and subscribe as well. And please go and find us for any video updates on Facebook. That is Cinema Savvy. Go on to Twitter at cinema_savvy. We're back on Letterboxd as well. Find us with Cinema Savvy again. And go to the link in the description to find us on TeePublic to pick up a t-shirt, hoodie, or something else as well. And now I'm going to pass you over to George with, I guess, a kind of announcement, but it's definitely to do with this video.
Yeah, no, definitely. We're going to be doing a kind of giveaway with these predictions. Before I get into the details of that, I'm actually going to go over our predictions rules because this impacts the giveaway. So what basically happens, this is the 6th year we've been doing this now, which is crazy. We each have 2 picks. Your first pick is weighted to 3 points. For example, if it was best soundtrack and you picked Tenet, didn't get nominated for some reason, we'll get into that on the Oscars live stream, no doubt. But when that would and should have won, you would get 3 points if that was your first choice. If it was your second choice, you would get 1 point. Think of it in football terms, 3 points for the win, 1 point for the draw, but the draw is your second choice. So we're giving you the option. And what happens is the night goes on, we start tallying them up. We do updates every couple of rounds and whatnot. So we have a definitive winner. And in the past, we've opened it up to you guys at home. We had one year where we brought someone on the channel to join us in the back of the bracket. It's a very special thing. But it's something else a little bit different this year. We want you guys to get involved at home. And there are details of the giveaway in the description. But I'm going to go over them all for you right now. We want you guys to basically join in with us. And we thought if we get people in, whoever wins, whoever gets the highest score of everyone that votes in, we're going to give away a £15 Rakuten voucher, which is basically like private, what's it, PVOD, video on demand, the premium video on demand stuff. So it's a voucher for you guys at home, whoever wins to get £15, put it towards renting some films or buying some films, however they want to do it, however you want to spend it. So we thought it's a nice way to get you involved. So if you head to that description down below, there's going to be a spreadsheet attached to it in a Google document. All you need to do is fill that out with the films, your first choice and your second choice. Email that into us at cinemasavvypodcast@gmail.com. That's also in the description. Let us obviously know your name or your Twitter handle or something like that. And then on the night when we're going through them, we will tally all you guys up as well. And obviously, for obvious reasons, us three are not involved in that. We're in our own separate league, and anyone that emails in will be able to obviously be in their own league with those. So we guys keep you updated. But if you want to, have a voucher and what, get your predictions going and follow those details in the description below. We'll mention it in a couple of videos because also what we want is very quickly before we get into them, we've already created our Oscars 2021 playlist. That's already on our homepage on the channel. And when we've got reviews out, more reviews out, we'll keep updating it with some more films, but we've already got about 10 in there. So do have a check of that. And yes, Mulan somehow made it in. So there's that. That being said, do we want to kick off with our first round of predictions?
Absolutely. So I think we're kicking off with best visual effects, if we're going in the order that I think we are. So if we just keep it clockwise, so I'll give my predictions, Tate, and then George. So our picks for best visual effects, I've got number 1 as Tenet. That's my first choice. And number 2, The Midnight Sky.
I'm already getting a feeling of where this is going. For visual effects category, at least, my number 1 pick is Tenet, and my number 2 pick is Midnight Sky.
Make that 3 in a row. Probably
that is
probably the worst category of this year.
I was going to say,
yeah,
we always get like a few categories that get completely nullified because we all pick the same. There are a few boring categories this year, and VFX is definitely one of them. In that sense.
I mean, you've got a Bryan Cranston gorilla movie on there. I don't know how that made it on the list, but somehow it's there. So the second category, best production design, I've got my number 1 pick as Mank, and my second pick is Tenet.
My number 1 pick is Mank, and my number 2 pick is Ma Rainey.
My number 1 pick is Mank, and my number 2 pick, I'm sorry, Lord Nolan, is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I'm in a sense of disgust today, so I'm not even going to get my hopes up about anything.
I'm the only guy repping Tenet for that. Okay, that surprises me. That surprises me.
I will say I was very happy when that did get nominated. 'Cause that book is insane, but yeah, that's the live stream is going to be feisty when they start reading out best score.
And speaking of which, that's a good segue. Our next category is Best Original Score. We all know what should be on there, but my number 1, this is going to be a good year for Trent Reznor, I think, and Atticus Ross. I've got Soul as my number 1 pick, and I've got Mank as my number 2 pick.
I've got Soul as my number 1 pick, and I've got News of the World as my number 2 pick.
I'm the same as Ted. I've got Soul as my number 1 pick and News of the World as my number 2 pick.
I was going to say, Chris, we all know that Soul is probably going to win that category, but you never bet against a Western as far as scores are concerned.
Oh, I haven't. Never. Well, I mean, I haven't listened to it yet, so I don't know.
You don't have to. You just don't bet against the Western.
There's a pattern right here. I've noticed in you and George are getting very similar picks, and I'm not, which means that I'm going to lose again this year. So, best international feature film, I've got number 1 as Another Round, and number 2, I've got Better Days.
I've got Another Round as my number 1 pick, and a film which I'm going to find very difficult to pronounce here, Quo Vadis Ade, as my number 2 pick.
Absolutely nailed it.
I'm going to be that guy and read out mine. My number 1 pick is Another Round, and my number 2 is just called I'm No Longer Here. That's the English translation. Don't know what country that's from. It's quite clear what's winning this one, but yeah.
So best film editing, I've got number 1 as The Sound of Metal. I thought I'd go with a music film. Hopefully it's like Whiplash. And number 2, The Trial of the Chicago 7, for literally one scene in the film.
I've got Chicago 7 as my number 1 pick, and I've got Sound of Metal as my number 2.
Jordan, you said Chicago 7 and Sound of Metal.
George, can we go all the way through, please?
There's got to be one difference. What was it last time?
It's going to be here. It's going to be in the short category.
It was hair and makeup, wasn't it? Or was it costume when Suicide Squad won that year? Let's not bring that up. Got Mulan this year. That's the equivalent. So now we're on to best sound. So this is a brand new thing for this year. We don't have sound mixing and sound editing now. It's just been grouped into one category as best sound. So for that category, my number 1 is Sound of Metal, and number 2, I have News of the World.
For sound, my number 1 is Sound of Metal, and my number 2 is Soul. George.
My number 1 is Sound of Metal, and my number 2 is Soul.
God damn it. Then we have best live action short film. Now we're getting into the few categories where I literally pick them based on the name. Oh no, it's just for this one. Best live action short film. Haven't seen any of these. Number 1, Feeling Through, and number 2, Two Distant Strangers.
My number 1, I've got Two Distant Strangers, and my number 2 is The Letter Room.
My number 1 is The Present, and my number 2 is The White Eye.
It always rides on those categories every year, doesn't it? Those are always the make or break ones. Best animated short film. So number 1, I have Burrow, and number 2, If Anything Happens, I Love You.
My number 1 is Burrow, and my number 2 is If Anything Happens, I Love You.
Oh, I'm back in the game.
My number 1 is Yes People, and my number 2 is Burrow.
Okay, so then we have Best Original Song. Now, I must have heard these two songs at some point, but my mind has just gone complete blank on them. So number 1, I've got Fight For You from Judas and the Black Messiah, and number 2, I've got Hear My Voice from Trial of the Chicago 7.
My number one, I've got Speak Now from One Night in Miami, and my number two is Fight for You from Judas and the Black Messiah.
My number one is Hear My Voice, Trial of Chicago 7, and my number two is Speak Now from One Night in Miami. Really want to add, sorry, off topic, Billie Eilish won Best Song at the Grammys last night for a James Bond film that's still not come out.
Correct.
Let that sink in.
Okay, we're on to best makeup and hairstyling. So number one, I've gone with Emma, and number two, I've gone Mank.
For number one, I've gone with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and number two, I've gone with Emma.
For my number one, I've gone with Mank, and my number two, I've gone with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
This is the fun one. Yeah, now we're into the documentaries. Okay, this is the one where I've got on title alone. So best documentary short subject. Number one, I've got A Love Song for Latasha, and number two, I've got Colette.
My number one is Love Song for Latasha, almost said Natasha then, and my number two is Colette as well.
My number one is Colette, and my number two is Do Not Spit.
This one was my favorite. So best documentary feature. For number one, I had to go with My Octopus Teacher. Like, I had to. When you see a title like that, you pick that as your number one. And even better than that, almost, number two, The Mole Agent. Now, I'm just imagining like an actual living mole, like an animal, the mole. So those are my two titles. That might be the best titles I've ever seen for this category in the whole years that we've been doing it.
We'll probably go into it when we get to the actual night, but I'm a little bit disappointed with this year with documentary. But my number one is Time, and my number two is Crip Camp.
My number one is Crip Camp, and my number two is Time. I only picked it because of the Hans Zimmer song. Nothing to
Oh, yeah, I saw that too, yeah. See, I'm going to be really disappointed when I eventually end up watching My Octopus Teacher and realise that the teacher isn't actually an octopus and it's a very misleading title. Number two, best costume design. I've got number one as Emma and number two, Mank.
Best costume design, number one, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and number two, Mank.
I've got number one, Mank, and number two, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
And we have best cinematography, and Tayte, we were saying beforehand that not a great year for cinematography, maybe, but we have to make the best with what we've got. Number one, I've got Nomadland, and number two, I've got Mank.
Nothing really pops off the screen this year, but I've got Nomadland at number one, and I've got Mank at number two as well.
Let's make a straight flush. I've got Nomadland at number one and Mank at number two. I will say about Mank, one of the best things was the cinematography.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's see if we get a straight one on this one. Best original screenplay. Number one, I've got Aaron Sorkin, Trial of the Chicago 7. And number two, I have Will Burson and Shaka King for Judas and the Black Messiah.
Oh, I didn't actually pull up the people's names, but my number one is Chicago 7. That's Aaron Sorkin. And my number two is Promising Young Woman. I'm not sure who did that. I'll look that up right now.
I don't have the names of the writers either, but I've got Trial of Chicago 7 as number one, Judas and the Black Messiah as number two.
Best adapted screenplay. Number one, I've got Nomadland, and number two, I've got One Night in Miami.
My number one for adapted screenplay is One Night in Miami, and my number two is Borat, subsequent movie film. Come on, let's go.
If that wins, I'll be a happy man. But...
Scenes, absolute scenes when it wins.
Did you not want to read the entire title out, please, as they had to do?
Right, here we go.
This is the best thing about the Oscar nominations. They had to read out the full title and every single nominee within it, and there was about 8-9 writers.
So, Borat subsequent movie film, delivery of prestigious bride to American regime for make benefit once glorious nation of Kazakhstan.
Beautiful. There we go. Here's where Georgia's got it as well and needs to read the full title out too.
Oh no, wait, is it meant to be mine? Adapted?
Yeah. Adapted.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Nomadland's my first choice, and number two is One Night in Miami.
Okay, and we're getting into the big hitters now. So, best director, I've got number one, Chloe Zhao for Nomadland, and number two, I've got Lee Isaac Chung for Minari.
Number one, I've got Chloe Zhao for Nomadland, and number two, I've got David Fincher for Mank.
I've got Chloe Zhao number one, Fincher for Mank at number two.
Okay, then we've got Best Actress in a Supporting Role. Number one, I've got Amanda Seyfried, from Mank, and number two, I've got Yoo Jung-yoon from Minari.
Number one, I've got Maria Bakalova from Borat. Come on, let's go. And number two, I've got Olivia Colman from The Father.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, I've got Maria Bakalova, and number 2, I've got Olivia Colman.
I've so lost this year. Best actor in a supporting role. Number 1, I've got Daniel Kaluuya from Judas and the Black Messiah. There's a conversation to be had there for that category.
Big conversation.
Really and number 2, I've got Sacha Baron Cohen, not from Borat 2, from Trial of the Chicago 7.
I've got Daniel Kaluuya from Judas and the Black Messiah, and number 2, I've got Leslie Odom Jr. from One Night in Miami.
Here we go again. Number 1, Daniel Kaluuya. Number 2, Leslie Odom Jr., who has just been cast. Today, he's been cast as the main villain in the new Marvel series, Secret Invasion. So he'll be Ben Mendelsohn. Very interesting.
Then we have Best Actress in a Leading Role, I believe. Number 1, I've got Frances McDormand for Nomadland, and number 2, Viola Davis from Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Number 1, I've got Carey Mulligan from Promising Young Woman, and number 2, Viola Davis from Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I'm assuming, George, with your smile, it might be the same.
No, I'm smiling because it's slightly different. Number 1, I've got Carey Mulligan, and number 2, I've got Frances McDormand.
Okay.
Best Actor in a Leading Role. Number 1, I think this is a fair game for this one. Chadwick Boseman from Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and number 2, I put Riz Ahmed from Sound of Metal.
Number 1, I've gone with Chadwick Boseman. I think that's one of the nailed on categories this year. And number 2, Riz Ahmed from Sound of Metal.
It's a straight flush. Chadwick Boseman, number 1, Riz Ahmed, number 2. That guy from Four Lions, now Oscar nominated, absolute legend.
I think we're into the last 2 categories now. We've got Best Animated Feature Film. It's the battle of the Pixar films for me. So number 1, I've got Soul, and number 2, I've got Onward.
I've got Soul as my number 1, but I've still got Faith. I've got Wolfwalkers as my number 2.
I've got Soul at number 1 and Wolfwalkers at number 2.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. I guess I'm the naysayer then for that year for Wolfwalkers. And then the final one, Best Picture. C. I know the odds-on favourite is Nomadland, and every time the odds-on winner never wins. It never wins. So I've gone by that rule again. My number 1 this year is Judas and the Black Messiah, and number 2, I've got Minari.
Ooh. We both perked up then. I'm boring. I'll go with what I think is going to win. I actually sent a message to the chat before with saying what should be what I pick as my winner. Would it be the popular vote? Would it be the one that should win, or would it be the one that I think will actually win? I'm going with what I think will actually win, which will be Nomadland at number 1, and I think Mank probably has the second best chance of getting it at number 2.
I've gone for Nomadland. I think it's a clean sweep at this stage. We've had a couple of awards already. I think we know the direction we're heading in. Marvel's holding off on that Eternals from the director of winning, now doing Marvel. Nomadland at number 1. And I'm going for Judas and the Black Messiah at number 2. I think that could be a big underdog across the next few weeks.
Well, we will find out in a few weeks who wins.
That's very interesting. Interesting predictions.
We never know how the night's going to go, though. We've seen some years where there have been massive surprises. Maybe we'll get that this year. Maybe we won't. But those are now all locked in. We cannot change them for us. But you still have time to get your predictions in. So once again, just sort of reiterating what we said at the beginning, we do have that £15 Rakuten voucher giveaway. So please do get your predictions into us as well. First and second choice for every single category. We'll keep tally over the night, and whoever gets the most right out of all the people that send in, you will receive that £15 voucher. So I think that's the first giveaway that we've done on the channel as well. So that'll be a pretty cool, nice occasion for the Oscars. The Oscars night, I actually haven't checked the date, but we're still a good few weeks off yet, which means we still have weeks, we still have days to get all of these films watched and reviewed and up on the channel. So I guess that will do it from us. We'll blitz over the socials one more time so you can keep track of all these reviews that we've got coming out, because there are so many films. It's absolutely ridiculous. So once again, Facebook at Cinema Savvy, Twitter at Cinema_Savvy. We're on Letterboxd. You can keep track of all these films that we're reviewing. I'm sure we'll throw an Oscars list up there as well for all the films that we cover. And for merch and everything like that, check the TeePublic link in the description down below. On top of that,
I was just going to say very quickly, Oscars night is on Sunday the 25th of April. Going in, I guess for us in the UK and Europe, it's the 26th of April in the morning, but it will be that kind of those 2 days.
Awesome. We still have time once again for the predictions. All the information and everything related to that is in the description, so do check that out. And on top of all these Oscar films, we still have all of our other shows going on as well. This Friday, we'll be starting up with Falcon and the Winter Soldier spoiler discussion. So we've got that covered. We've got the Cinema Savvy Awards, which are going to be continuing, which will be a nice placeholder for the Oscars, actually, before the actual night. So that's every Thursday at 8 p.m. GMT. We have the Infinity Saga retrospective going. You expect videos for that every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, still at 8 p.m. I think that's everything, isn't it? Retro reviews, we still have those going for the next couple of weeks as well. And not tomorrow's, but the week after. Check back for that, because I'm not going to give it away now. I just realized we pre-recorded it and it'll be in the video. So check that tomorrow. Retro reviews, we have the... oh, God, what's it called? My mind's gone blank. What's the film called? Point Break, my God. Yes, Point Break review tomorrow at 8 p.m. GMT. Thanks for that, George. I think that's everything. So thank you to everyone that's checked this out. We want to see your predictions as well, too. So that'll do it from us until the next video. See you guys next time.